Pledge and sing. They're ready.
So we'll say the pledge. Yeah, we have students sing Stars Spangled Banner. Is after the pledge, Stars Spangled Banner? Right, after the pledge, correct, okay.
Good evening and welcome. This evening we have the special treat of having one of our students singing the national anthem immediately following the Pledge of Allegiance. And so please remain standing following the pledge. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. What a gorgeous rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. I thank our choir especially too for their beautiful performance at the winter concert last week. Lovely. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Tom, second Henry. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 5-0. Okay, Mr. Poole's superintendent's report.
High school student performance.
Oh, there's the additional performances.
Yep.
Okay, great. So we have Mr. Creighton, and before the superintendent's report, Mr. Creighton and Mrs. O'Connor will be introducing our high school student performers.
Hello, my name is Ashley O'Connor and I'm the high school orchestra director. I'm here to introduce 2 musical performances tonight and to thank you for this opportunity to have our students perform for an audience. The first performance is going to be by the high school Orpheus Ensemble, an upperclassmen string ensemble that performs at school and community events. This group is comprised of Anya Minty and Asma Rashidzada on violin, James Minetti on viola, Killian O'Reilly on cello, and Lucas Portuguese on bass. They will be performing the minuet from String Quintet in E major by Boccherini. And the second performance will be a solo piano performance by Anya Minty. She will be performing Jadot by Ravel. Anya will be performing this piece at the All-State Piano Showcase this Friday in Rochester. She was selected as one of only 10 pianists from all of New York State to perform at this showcase, and she is the first SWR high school student to ever be accepted. We wish her the best of luck this weekend as she represents our district at the All-State Music Festival. And now we'll bring up to the stage the Orpheus Ensemble. Thank you.
absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time out to grace us with your gorgeous talents. Anya, what a dynamic performance. Not even sheet music there. We thank you for your time tonight. Also, thank you for representing Shoreham-Wading River in Rochester next week. You make us very proud, and we're in awe. Thank you. Okay. Well, get to follow that up, Mr. Poole, with your superintendent.
That was beautiful. Time for the superintendent's report. I'm going to turn it over first to our ex officio student board member, Timothy Manzello, to take on the high school report.
Last week, 2021 graduate and co-valedictorian Owen Barron was here at the high school representing the U.S. Naval Academy and was available to speak with students interested in exploring the process for applying to a military academy. The sophomore class is collecting letters and items for soldiers stationed far from home during the holiday season. The goal is to collect 100 letters and 100 items for our troops. All items can be dropped off in room C226. Seniors Madison McQuaid and Anya Minty have both been selected for All Eastern Honors as a part of the collaboration between the National Association for Music Education and New York State School Music Association. Congratulations to Madison and Anya. This coming Thursday, December 1st, all high school students will have the opportunity to participate in two incredibly important social and emotional learning experiences hosted at the high school. Students will hear from our school mental health professionals about the importance of self-care and what it means to be happy, and in a separate presentation, they'll watch Speak Life and Bullying, the musical. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to add a little on to the high school, you may be wondering why my hair looks so great tonight, why I have this wonderful haircut. You may be wondering where you can get such a fabulous haircut. So last week, Mr. Passamonte and I had the pleasure of visiting the BOCE's technical program in Bellport. We have a great partnership with BOCE's for career technical education, and we had the chance to visit the barbering program there, which is a career tech ed program over there. So, and I had the pleasure, and I'm going to thank Joseph Grafer for cutting my hair. Came out great. And I know Ezra Johnson cut Mr. Passamonte's hair. And I want to congratulate the other three students that are there as part of that technical program: Armani Foglia, Aiden Michelasi, and Saif Suli, for their dedication to their commitment and to being part of that program. So that was a great experience. I think I'm going to go back for it. So. Over at the middle school, Native American Heritage Month has been celebrated throughout the middle school. Lessons in a variety of classes were created to honor this special cultural celebration. The National Junior Honor Society spent time selling and providing over 200 pairs of socks for our veterans. And the music students and teachers have been working hard to prepare for their first performance of the year. The middle school winter concert will be held next Wednesday, December 7th at 6:30 p.m. in the high school auditorium. Over at Wading River, the Wading River Student Council continues to work hard. Congratulations to them for organizing the collection of thousands of food items to restock the shelves of local food pantries. We know they're in need before the Thanksgiving holiday, and I was over there. There was a massive amount of food collected, thanks to the community and the students for contributing. We know people are in need. And as an enrichment activity at Wading River, to help launch their journalism writing unit, Wading River School fifth grade teacher Mrs. Carla Roberts arranged for all fifth grade classes to interview Miss Candace Ferret, a Newsday journalist with over 20 years of professional experience. She shared her experiences and answered the engaging questions that the young writers asked, and helped inspire the next generation of journalists at Wading River who are working on their first news articles. Over at Miller Avenue, second graders were treated to their own Miller Avenue rendition of the Thanksgiving Balloon Parade. This annual event was a culmination of the study of how to be an inventor and Balloons Over Broadway, the true story of the master puppeteer who invented the first balloons for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Tonight's a great night. We had a showcase of our amazing musically talented students, and I thank the teachers and the students for being here tonight. I know tonight we have a chance to recognize our fall athletes who had a tremendous fall season all around, for the school district. Mr. Passamonte is here for that this evening. And we also have some updates for the board from the high school principal, Mrs. Schaefer, in regards to the Spark program, Dr. Palicelli, STEM update, and Ms. Wallbauer an update on humanities this evening. So we have a full agenda, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poole. Do we have any statements from residents related to the agenda?
No.
No? Okay. So, Mr. Passamonte, thank you for recognizing our Fall Scholar athletes. And then following the recognition, we'll just pause for a photo in the back of the auditorium. That will be enough space for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I would like to say, Mr. Poole, that was a great experience going to bow season, getting our hair cut. I was thinking about growing mine out, but
It's
Ezra
holding
took
up,
care of
it's
that
holding
for
up,
me.
Mr. Passamine. Looks good.
So tonight I would like to recognize all of our great accomplishments from our fall athletes. It's great to see a great turnout. What I'll do is when I read the names, we'll go team by team. If everyone could please just hold their applause until after I do each team, that would be great. Students, if you are present, once I read your name, if you would just stay standing while I read the names of your other teammates, and we'll recognize you. And as Ms. Anderson said, we'll get a photo at the end with all the students that are here. I would like to begin by indicating that all of our fall teams were scholar athlete teams. What that means is that 75% of the team, of the roster, their average must be equal or greater to 90. We had 166 fall varsity athletes. 113 of those were scholar athletes, which equates to 68%. So really, that's what we're here about, student athletes, and that really shows that our students do a great job in the classroom. Beginning with boys cross country, coached by Bob Szymanski. All league, Ben Wyzemierski, Noah Wyzemierski, and Patrick Shea. All conference was Ben Wyzemierski and Patrick Shea. All academic was Ben Wyzemierski. All county, Ben Wyzemierski. The Shoreham-Wading River MVP was Ben Wyzemierski. Patrick Shea was the League 6 champion. Ben Wyzemierski was a state qualifier. The Matthew Blend scholarship winners were Jake Albert, Noah Parinello, and Ben Wyzemierski. And the scholar athletes on the boys cross country team, Jake Albert, Max Borum, Cole Fernandez, Nick Friedlander, Spencer Lee, James Minetti, Noah Parinello, Patrick Shea, Jake Smith, Colin Smith, Forrest Teppenhart, Ben Wyzemierski, and Noah Wyzemierski. Congratulations, boys lacrosse. Boys cross country. Moving on to girls cross country, coached by Paul Koretsky, assisted by Ed Grantshaw. All league and all division, Olivia Pesso, Maddie McKiernan, Anna Minetti, Caroline DeAndrea, and Ellie Connell. All county, Olivia Pesso and Ellie Connell. Most improved was Caroline DeAndrea. MVP for Shoreham was Olivia Pesso. And the scholar athletes for girls cross country, Caroline DeAndrea, Felicity Fitzgerald, Callie Kraus, Lainey Kraus, Maddie McKiernan, Ella Meeker, Anna Minetti, Giovanna Olivo, Olivia Pesso, and Madison Zellen. Congratulations, girls cross country. Moving on to independent swimming, coached by Taylor Anderson. The county champion, Emily Herr. Emily won the 200 and 500 freestyle as the county champion. Emily competed at the state meet in the 200 IM and the 100 breaststroke. She was also all-state recognition. Emily placed third in New York State in the 200 IM and sixth in the 100 breaststroke. She is the MVP, and Emily is a scholar athlete. Congratulations, Emily. Moving on to girls gymnastics, for those that aren't aware, we combined with William Floyd, so our students go to William Floyd and are able to participate in gymnastics. We had one gymnast this year, and that was Michaela Nabry, and Michaela was an all-county athlete in gymnastics as well as a scholar athlete. Congratulations. Moving on to boys volleyball, coached by Sean Dowd. The SWR Most Improved was KJ Trentowski. The MVP was Jake Farron, and the scholar athletes for boys volleyball were Jacob Adams, Danny Colon, Dominic Cazzetti, Alex Dawson, Matt Dinowitz, Jake Farron, Andrew Licata, Dylan McClellan, and KJ Trentowski. Congratulations, boys volleyball. Boys golf, coached by Kevin Willey. All league was Tim Manzello, Will Miller. All conference, you got to stand, Timmy. All conference, Tim Manzello. Just stay right there. All county, Tim Manzello. The SWR MVP was Tim Manzello. Our most improved was Derek Blanco. And the scholar athletes for boys golf, Derek Blanco, Dan Leada, Tim Manzello, Christian McLean, Will Miller, and Emilio Rivera. Congratulations, boys golf. And girls volleyball, coached by Haley Weir. The SWR setter of the year was Cameron Osick. The SWR top teammate was Courtney Green. The coaches award, Morgan Truesdale. The love of the game award, Ella Marcario. The offensive player of the year was Lily Mader. The defensive player of the year was Dana Napolitano. The MVP was Kelsey Hughes. And the scholar athletes on girls volleyball, Shea Barron, Tiana Barone, Courtney Green, Kelsey Hughes, Lily Mader, Ella Marcario, Dana Napolitano, Cameron Osick, Jessica Plagey, Brooke Rand, Alessandra Saget, Morgan Truesdell, and Natalie Wilson. Congratulations, girls volleyball. Moving on to boys soccer, head coach Rob Mancuso, assisted by Dave Cummings. All league were Tom Daggett and Luke Gorman. All conference, Nick Nowak, Ryan Menno, Tanner Cummings, and Kyle Rose. All county was Nick Nowak and Ryan Menno. All academic, Killian O'Reilly. Most improved, Owen Karaftis. The MVP was Nick Nowak. And the scholar athletes for boys soccer, Michael Arena, Daniel Buckley, Tanner Cummings, Thomas Daggett, Logan DePauli, Luke Gorman, Alex Makeritz, Ryan Menno, Killian O'Reilly, Ben Panassi, Lucas Porches, Chase Rodriguez, Robert Tacky, and Nick Worthington. Congratulations, boys soccer. Moving on to girls tennis, coached by Deb Lutchen. All league, Chloe Jager, Nina Nelson, Reese Nelson, Kristen Tortora. All county, Emily DeRose, Charlotte Erb, and Liza Undress. The MVP was Chloe Jager. The most improved was Kristen Tortora. The Suffolk County Tennis Coaches Association Sportsmanship Award went to Hannah Rayfuse. Liza Undress placed third in singles in Division 4, and Charlotte Erb and Emily DeRose placed fourth in doubles in Division 4. The girls tennis scholar athletes were Natalie Cortina, Emily DeRoche, Charlotte Erb, Julia Hassad, Chloe Jager, Emily Martinez, Hannah Rayfuse, Kristen Tortora, Liza Undress, and Mia Wentz. Congratulations, girls tennis. Moving on to field hockey, coached by Christina Sacchitello and assisted by Kim Hannigan. All county, Emily Ruda and Brooke Melcher. All county honorable mention, Haley Abrams. All classification was Sophia Minion. All division was Caitlin Monaghan. All tournament team, Ellie Arena. The unsung hero was Sophia Costello. The coaches award, Marissa Cacciola. Most improved went to Madison Her and Reese Marcario. And the scholar athletes were Haley Abrams, Sydney Elbert, Maggie Anderson, Ellie Arena, Marissa Cacciola, Kayla Corso, Elisa Corso, Sophia Costello, Catherine Donnelly, Madison Her, Jocelyn Kavanaugh, Haley Lukovich, Reese Marcario, Brooke Melcher, Sophia Minion, Caitlin Monaghan, Emily Ruta, and Emily Schmalzy. Congratulations to the field hockey team. Moving on to the football team, head coach Aiden Smith, assisted by Joe Della Pasta, Virgil Romer, and Nick Merceri. All division, Zach Wilson, Brendan Meskill, and Liam Kirschus. Second team all division, Jake Fabian, Aiden Powers, and Mike Casey. All county, Dylan Zahn, Ryan Herr, and Thomas Mullen. Special teams award for Shoreham went to Ryan Wilson. The SWR offensive MVP, Dylan Zahn. The defensive MVP, Ryan Herr. Offensive line grunt award, Zach Wilson. Defensive line award, Brad Doherty. Most valuable player, Dylan Zahn. And the scholar athletes, Sam Alessi, Kieran Clifford, Ryan Cummings, Jake Fabian, Daniel Green, Will Hart, Ryan Herr, Zach Johnson, Kenny Jews, Liam Kershus, Alex Kershus, James Maxwell, Liam McGuire, Gavin McQueenie, Sal Mealy, Brendan Meskill, Joe Stymel, Ryan Wilson. Congratulations, football. And moving on to girls soccer, coached by Mike Gengler and assisted by Brian Ferguson. All league, Kaya Condon, Madison Bergen, Jessica Nastasi, and Abigail Barron. All county, Grace Ann Leonard, Grace Hillis, and Ava Gengler. Academic all county, Jessica Nastasi. Academic all league, Annie Sheehan. Team Courage Award, Lindsay Langella. SWR MVP, Kaya Condon. Most improved was Morgan Lesowitz, and the team also was the 2022 Suffolk County Class A champions, losing a tough one in the Long Island Championship 1-0, but they really had a great season. The scholar athletes on the team, Abigail Barron, Madison Bergen, Kaya Condon, Emily Cardano, Caitlin Coster, Mia Gengler, Ava Gengler, Naomi Harris, Grace Hillis, Lindsay Langella, Morgan Lesowitz, Jillian Luck, Juliana Mahan, Mia Mangano, Jessica Nastasi, Jocelyn Nastasi, Johanna Aschenfeld, Alex Ruggiero, Annie Sheehan, and Isabel Sweet. Congratulations, girls soccer. And what I'd like to recognize for fall outstanding sportsmanship, this is even going to the middle school. I think it's important to recognize sportsmanship with teams. And the teams that receive outstanding sportsmanship were boys varsity volleyball, middle school girls soccer, middle school girls cross country, and the varsity girls soccer team. And the varsity girls soccer team, that was voted on by the officials. So winning a county championship and getting a good sportsmanship award from the officials, I think is great. So congratulations to all those sportsmanship teams. And congratulations to all our athletes.
Thank you. Congratulations to all our scholar athletes and to all our athletes. Please head to the back and we'll distribute pins and take your photo.
Back left.
Back left, okay.
Back left,
yes.
yeah.
Back left.
Congratulations again to our athletes, and thank you for taking the time out to come this evening. Next up, we have reports and reviews, and we'll have Ms. Dana Schaefer present on our Spark BNL research program.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having us this evening. I wanted to take the opportunity to just highlight some of the wonderful work that's been going on in our science research program over the last couple of years, but more so in the last few months. So we kicked off the summer with several new members of our collaboration with Brookhaven National Lab. Projects that are continuing through this school year. So I've brought two of our current research students here tonight to share some of their work with you. I just wanted to give a little bit of a background and a little bit of a reminder of what the Spark program is. So it's a collaborative effort between Brookhaven National Lab and several school districts in our area, including West Islip and West Hampton Beach, Longwood High School, William Floyd High School, and it's open to some of the community colleges as well. We have members from Suffolk Community College that started this year also. So it began a long time ago under a different name, and it sort of reignited, no pun intended, as the Spark program. It stands for Student Partnerships for Advanced Research and Knowledge. And what it does is it allows us to interact with the scientific community at BNL, not as high school students and teachers, but as scientists. So these students are coming as and treated as actual scientists at BNL. So we are 24/7 when we get our experimental time. We are 12 months out of the year. We are bringing real science and authentic science to BNL, and we're being granted and awarded time based on grants that we write, just as any other scientist globally would be. So the opportunity is there to engage the students and the teachers in very authentic, hypothesis-driven research that complements what we do in the classroom and extends past what we have in our academic learning in textbooks and in our Regents-based courses. It's intended to motivate students that are considering a career in the sciences. It is a commitment, those that it's open to all of our science research students once they are the age 15 and older. We tend to introduce it in the second year of the program, but it is a commitment, and it's one that they understand when they're getting started in the program. And it provides us the opportunity to do that higher level, big science is what BNL likes to call it. So we get to play with billion-dollar equipment provided by the Department of Energy, and we are entrusted with running that equipment in the absence of the scientists at times. So we are the principal investigators as the teachers, and these are our researchers when we're on site. So it's been amazing to return back to BNL in person and be able to actually utilize the equipment and have these guys on hand with us. So Sasha and Alex are going to describe a little bit of what they've been working on over the past couple of years and currently, and I promised that they will use as simplified, non-sciencey language as they can to do so.
All right, hello and good afternoon, members of the Board of Ed. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you guys for inviting us up here and letting us talk about this really amazing program. I mean, I could go on and on about just how cool it is to actually do this, but I think Ms. Schaefer said it best herself. While we're here, we get to be real scientists. We do experiments that have never been run before that actually get published for other scientists in the scientific world to see and learn from. And as a student researcher and aspiring scientist, it provides some of the most unique and amazing career development opportunities for people like me. Not only do we get to work with some really brilliant students from other schools, we get to work with some of the greatest and best world-class scientists in their respective fields. I've learned so much just from talking to them about what they do, their day-to-day lives at BNL, and it's just really great. And as she said, Spark provides with us some really powerful equipment. The primary facility that we utilize for our experiments is the NSLS-2. That stands for the National Synchrotron Light Source 2. It is What it essentially is the world's most powerful microscope. It shoots light at samples that we feed it, and it returns to us really valuable data that tell us about its chemical structure and actual internal physical structure. We use this to run all of our experiments, and it's a really powerful and really cool piece of equipment that we get to use. There's a picture of it right up there. So I didn't actually personally participate in this specific experiment. This was run by one of our graduate students, Joel. I think when I was a freshman, actually. He wanted to look at sediments from our pond and see what effects the water main break had on elemental composition and what that may indicate about life that's living in there. He looked at those elements: iron, zinc, copper, aluminum, magnesium, silicon, titanium, and calcium. And strangely enough, he actually found all the elements to be in normal range for supporting life. And you could see, there's no pointer, right? Nah, that's fine. You could see some graphs up there that sort of indicate his findings, and you could see the maps that the NSLS2 was able to produce over to the right. Basically, the different colors indicate concentrations and hotspots of different elements. And from that, we could really gather a story about the samples that we are feeding into it. All right, so I will be talking about my project I ran last summer and worked to analyze all of last year. This project started when we received different wood samples off of different areas of Long Island. One of the samples came from around Greenport in a bay location, while the other came off of Southampton over in the ocean. And although many projects in the past have analyzed shipwrecks and the water's effect on them, we found very little, actually like no research done to compare two different shipwrecks that were sunk at similar times, but in very different settings. You could see one of them was in a secluded bay location, and one of them was off the ocean, which could have very significant impacts into how we could preserve them for the future. So I analyzed the wood while my friend Derek analyzed the nails. So for the wood, we found that because the bay location supported a greater amount of life, the wood was actually seeing a lot more decay due to sulfur and other chemicals that this bacterial life sort of produces. While Derek saw that the nails react with different elements in the ocean and sort of start decaying. What this tells us is that we have to take different types of measures to preserving shipwrecks that we find at different locations. And we're looking to publish this for the future. I think that's it. Right? Yeah.
So some of our current works in progress include the shipwreck analysis that Alex was just talking about and the data analysis on the pond sediment. So we've already completed the data analysis on the sediment, and we're currently working on the publication of the manuscript in the scientific journal. And for the shipwreck analysis, we're going to be analyzing the data in December, and currently Derek and Alex are working on the publication. Some of our new projects include our microplastics project, which is currently being worked on by Katie Schaefer and Juliana O'Neill. They're looking for microplastics that's located in the sediment of estuaries, or the Peconic estuary. And microplastics are essentially small plastic pieces that can be harmful to aquatic life. And they're pretty much just conducting a survey on the types of microplastics found, as well as the abundance of them in the estuary's waters. And we also have our project on carbonaceous chondrites, which is the one that I'm currently working on. And a carbonaceous chondrite is a type of meteor that contains more than 70% carbon. And essentially what we're looking for with that is the chemical composition in order to determine if meteors played any role in life being brought to Earth or somehow attributed to life being created on Earth. Thank you.
So you can see there's quite a few different types of projects that we've been running at the NSLS over the last couple of years. It's a lot of geophysics, but each student brings their own piece, and the nice part of it is that Sasha is working on the meteor with other students from other schools, but they each sort of have their own take to it and their own story that they're looking to tell. So her piece might be a little bit different than some of the students from Longwood or West Hampton Beach, which would then lead to separate publications. And that's a really nice benefit and a really impressive one for our students that they have available to them. So sorry. That publication in the scientific world is really the pinnacle of what you're looking for. Publish or perish. And the opportunity here is for them to publish manuscripts in scientific journals just like every other scientist does. And that's really what the BNL program is looking for from us. So that's something that we're really working on with our students. And just to kind of round out our science research program for this year and let you guys know what it is that we're working on, we are still bringing our students towards those science competitions. So we have 3 third-year students in the program that will be competing in LISEF this year. Very different projects. We have one looking at honeybees. We have another one that's working on communication in fungi, believe it or not, under some stressed conditions. And then we have a psychology project, which is one of the first, and that's new for me. My other third years, including Alex, are going to be competing in JV LISEF this year, or NICEF Andromeda, which is the state level of our regional competitions. And they'll be taking their NSLS2 projects to those competitions. And then we have some second-year students, which include Sasha, and they'll be competing in Long Island Science Congress this year with several of their projects, including the ones that you just heard about tonight. And then we have 3 different group projects in our first year of the program, and they're going to be competing also in Science Congress with their Barcode Long Island projects. So that's another collaboration with Cold Spring Harbor Lab that we've been doing for several years, where they get to survey the biodiversity of different organisms in the environment. We're currently studying leeches from our pond, and just so you know, they are found in healthy ponds, but we've got some real juicy guys that we collected from out there. And we're looking at aquatic macroinvertebrates from our pond as well. Those are our bugs, and they also indicate the health of our pond. And then we're looking at ants in 2 different ecosystems on our campus. And then we have participated in a day in the life of the Peconic Estuary. That happens every year in October, and the microplastic samples that Sasha was talking about came from our site at the Peconic Estuary, and then it's going to be compared to microplastics that were collected from all of the other collaborative sites around Long Island, so we're getting a picture of what that microplastic contamination might look like across Long Island. And then at the end of the year, we're going to culminate it with our student research symposium right here at the high school. We've been doing this for the past couple of years, and it's just an opportunity for our students to be up there on the stage presenting their work to their parents, their peers, and hopefully open to the community this year as well. All right. Thank you so much for letting us come out tonight and talk to you guys.
And for Alex and Sasha for taking the time as well. You know, it's funny how you said, Alex, that believe it or not, there are healthy markers in the pond. That's a surprise to me. I think that's exciting, and the fact that there are microorganisms to study there is a great opportunity. Thanks for the reminder about the program in the beginning of the presentation, because I had no idea that the work that you're doing culminates in publication, and that's incredibly impressive, and we wish you the best of luck in your competitions. So thank you.
I just had a question.
Sure, yeah. That'll probably not.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No, it was a question for Ms. Schaefer, actually. I've been serving on the Community Advisory Council for the Brookhaven National Labs for several years.
Oh, great.
And on a monthly basis, sometimes, well, with COVID, it's been bi-monthly or whatever, but there's usually a presentation that's produced for the committee members, and they talk a lot about the research that's happening at the lab, the different activities that are happening. I'm wondering if you guys could maybe come to and do a presentation about, and with the other school districts, obviously, of what the Spark program is doing there at Brookhaven National Lab, because that would be, you know, we would fit just in perfectly with the regular meetings that we're having.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. We work with Dr. Aleda Perez, who is from the Office of Educational Programming over at BNL.
Right.
So I'll see her in another week or so, and I could definitely mention that to her and see if we could put something together.
Yeah, that's great.
That would
Thank
be
you.
awesome. Thank you.
Great job, guys.
I actually have a question as well. Sorry to there. So all of this is possible because of grants that you put in for, is that true? When you say
The
grant
Spark-
research for the Spark
I
program?
think the grants come about in terms of BNL. It's no cost to us on our end. It only has to do with the blood, sweat, and tears of the educators and the students that are involved. So it's our time and our academic investment in the program, but
Gotcha.
there's no cost to the school district at all.
Right, I thought it was a grant-based program, it's granted to BNL,
Yeah, I think
and then we
So I
participate.
know that most of the national laboratories are required to do some type of outreach. This is an opportunity for them to do outreach as well as connect with the educational community. So this has been, they have, again, the Office of Educational Programming is designed specifically to create those connections at the undergraduate level and the secondary level, and even younger in the primary levels as well, for as much as they can determine. They have the science fair every year, but this has been a spectacular way for the high school students to get involved one-on-one.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have our high school principal report by Mr. Puglisi and Mr. Holonia.
So good evening, everyone. It is our absolute pleasure to, thank you, John, to be here with you guys tonight. As I usually start off, no one speaks better for our high school than our teachers and our students. So to follow that presentation and to follow the musical presentations earlier and the recognitions for all of our incredible scholar athletes really says more about this incredible program than John or I ever could. But we will do our best to try and do that for you tonight. So what we're going to start with is just a quick overview of what our presentation is going to focus on. This is the presentation that I believe was shared out last week. We did make a couple of small modifications to it later in the day today, and we'll make sure you have that updated copy as well. There wasn't anything substantially changed, just some additions. So like I said, we're going to go through some reports on new and updated locations. We're going to take a little bit of time and talk about our academic and extracurricular opportunities. We'll then shift to special experience for our students on campus, then move off campus to talk about field trips, Nexus, and student experiences away from, like I said, away from home. And then we're going to round it out with just a short conversation about how we go about keeping our students and our staff safe and secure during our school days. So as I said, we'll begin with some reports on new and updated locations and projects. As you saw a little bit earlier today when we did our building walkthrough, our recently completed outdoor learning center has now officially been opened to some students to be able to get out there when the weather permits. We are not fully done yet in terms of furniture. So right now, students and staff are aware that after students have the opportunity to eat their lunch inside the cafeteria, again, if weather permits, they'll be able to get outside, get a little bit of fresh air during the school day, and be able to enjoy that wonderful new space. Once again, when we kind of come back around again and we get out to the spring, we will also set up a schedule for periods 1 through 3 and 9 during our non-lunch periods where classroom teachers will be able to get out there kind of on a scheduled basis to be able to use those locations as well. We already have a long tradition here in the high school of classes going outside, again, whenever the weather is cooperating, so this will just give it a more formal kind of location to be able to do that. Similar to what we heard a couple of weeks ago down at the middle school, the fascia was newly painted all the way around our building. You know, this photo really doesn't do it justice for how incredible that little touch of paint really did to brighten up the entire facade of the building. Completed perimeter fencing project. In addition to the gate change at our warehouse area, the gate at the east entrance directly across from district office was also reconstructed, in addition to this new gate on the left-hand side at the rear of the gymnasium. Again, there was an older kind of chain there. This certainly brought it up to where we wanted it to be. Up in room 221, one of our rooms within our life skills program, we added some updated appliances, some new work tables, again, so our students have a more up-to-date and modern experience within the kitchen program. Again, with the idea being we are trying to provide them with the skills essential not only for their own lives, but also to move them forward into possible employment opportunities as well. Continuing along that same thread, our maintenance team did an incredible job converting an old storage room into a modern laundry facility, again, for our life skills program, to not only build the skills around just, again, a daily living skill of doing laundry, but also learning how to operate what amounts to being a small business, learning how to meet deadlines to make sure that the number of jerseys coming in are the same number of jerseys going out, to make sure they're meeting deadlines. So again, we're always looking for those opportunities to integrate our RISE students within our general education program, and to develop those opportunities wherever possible to develop not only their own individual life skills, but possible employment skills as well. Phase one, I will call it. We are greatly anticipating this coming summer when we're going to be able, hopefully be able to completely update our auxiliary gym into a more modern gym space and fitness center. What we were able to do in the meantime was bring in some of the equipment that we had previously housed out in the original fitness center into half of the auxiliary gym. The flooring that you see there was the flooring that was originally put down into what had then been A101 and 102. So this is now going to become an active space where students either on athletic teams or just independently through our after-school Nautilus program will be able to avail themselves of this equipment and hopefully kind of set the stage for what's going to come next when we're going to be able to open up this completely renovated space, hopefully by this time next year. Now going to turn it over to Mr. Holonia, who's going to start with our academic program here at the high school.
So just to touch base on some of the academic opportunities that students have here at Shoreham-Wading River, Mr. Poole mentioned it earlier that he and Mr. Passamonte went over to BOCES to participate with our students in the barbering program. And we have 60 students this year attending 24 different programs through BOCES at a number of their different sites, including all sorts of different academic programs or career and technical education, art and design, audio production, aviation, computer graphics, cosmetology, early childhood education, HVAC, law enforcement, welding. Like I said, there's 24 of them that students are participating in, and there's a larger course catalog that they get to choose from. They actually make an application to BOCES, and they're accepted based on their academic performance here at the high school. So an opportunity that our students are really taking great advantage of. This year we're offering 19 AP courses. We have 232 students who are registered to take 411 AP exams. Opportunity as well for our students this year to work towards their Seal of Biliteracy, a program started by Nicole Waldauer last year. So continuing to identify candidates who are eligible for this great recognition. And as well, we are looking into the Seal of Civic Readiness this year, investigating how we can best prepare our students to get that acknowledgement on their New York State Regents diplomas as well. We have a huge dual enrollment program here with a number of local universities and colleges. The Beacon program through Suffolk Community College. We have students set to earn over 510 college credits this year through the Beacon program. We have 11 different courses that offer dual enrollment with Beacon. We have students in our business courses here at the high school through SUNY Farmingdale, the university and the high school program, and the UHS program. 6 different students in 2 of our business department courses, college accounting, and college sports marketing are the 2 courses that students are enrolled in here, and they're earning credit at Farmingdale at the same time. Also within the business department, we have our virtual enterprise class, partnered with LIU, High School Scholars Program. We have 15 students who are dual enrolled in our class and through LIU. And then we have another 72 students enrolled in courses through Stony Brook's ACE program. Those are primarily language courses, upper levels of Spanish and French, in addition to our AP Lit students. This year we did expand the course guide with a couple of new classes that are very popular with our students, including our mythology class and then our ceramics 1 and 2. A little bit more on those to follow. This year as well, to celebrate our elective courses and to bring the course book to life, we have our media club that is creating a course video where basically they've gone around and interviewed students and staff about the different courses that are offered, the elective courses, the value in taking them, and really what the courses entail, so that students have a better idea of what we do have to offer and what is available to them. So we do anticipate that being released within the coming month. Just to highlight some of the different things that are going on in our academic classes, these are pictures from our forensics students. Forensics is one of our year-long science classes that students can take in their science curriculum. These students are working on crime scene investigation. Here you can see them measuring, diorama of crime scenes and the importance of, getting accurate representation of what's occurred at a crime scene. Here we have students taking advantage of our new adventure education program through phys ed. Some of the new apparatus that are out behind the football stadium. The outdoor learning apparatus develops teamwork, communication skills, and we have many sections of this course that are running new this year. It's a fantastic opportunity for our students. The Ceramics 1 and 2 program is really an extension of Creative Crafts. So Creative Crafts is a class that we've had for a number of years, and Ceramics 1 and 2 allows our students to extend their knowledge in the use of clay and sculpture, and to further investigate that medium and to continue working with it over the course of the full year. These are some photographs from Miss Trend's mythology class. Students were able to demonstrate their knowledge of mythological symbols. They sculpted the symbols out of Play-Doh, expanding their understanding of these symbols and then describing and analyzing their significance to the different cultures that they're studying through their mythology. Students participated in a gallery walk to judge one another's work, but really it's again the idea of understanding the different symbols involved in many different cultures' mythology and what they mean and how to recognize them. Also, in addition to the different programs that we're offering this year through our professional development, Mr. Pugliese and I actually on conference day led a professional development on understanding by design, or UBD, also known as backwards design, with a focus in that particular professional development on essential questions. It's really a way for staff to think about their instruction, kind of think about where they're going, what the end game is, right, the destination, and then how to build their instruction backwards from where they want to go. So it's something that, again, we paid particular attention to on Superintendent's Conference Day, but it's something that we are revisiting again and again each month in our faculty meetings. We are planning our instruction in our faculty meetings using the UBD principles, and then providing the teachers the opportunity to be the students, in that case, to experience it as a student, in addition to teaching them about the UBD process, the design process, and how they can incorporate that into their lesson plans. So again, that's a year-long effort, and probably one that's going to carry over for far into the future that we've been working on this year.
So next, rounding this out a little bit, we have our extracurricular opportunities. We have 33 clubs, including the following. We have 10 academic clubs, our Art and Literary Club, Brainstormers, DECA, FFA, Journalism, Mathletes, National History Day, Robotics, WISE, and World Languages Club. We have 11 community service-based clubs, Act Now, Best Buddies, Freshman Class, Global Awareness, GSA, Junior Class, Natural Helpers, the SAD Club, Senior Class, Sophomore Class, and our overarching student government. Right now we have 2 National Honor Societies, the Tri-M National Music Honor Society and the National Honor Society. There are 3 selective music ensembles, which we'll hear coming up in December, our chamber orchestra, our jazz band, and our vocal express. We have 3 major theater productions per year, our fall musical, our spring drama, and the student-run production. We have 2 student performance clubs, our dance club and coffee house, which is coming up the Friday before break in December. We have 2 health and fitness clubs, the yoga club, and as we mentioned a little earlier, the return of Nautilus and the newly updated auxiliary gym. This will be year 2 of our Scholar Fine and Applied Arts recognition. Just to remind you, this is something that we created last year to mirror the NISFA Scholar Athlete Award. The Scholar Fine and Applied Arts recognition will be awarded at the end of each year to student actors, artists, musicians that meet established standards of academic achievement and extracurricular involvement in the fine and applied arts. This year, continuing with that theme of making sure that we are publicizing all of the opportunities that we have here, we ran our first annual club fair. And up on the screen now are some photos from that club fair. What we did was we took 4 days in October where by grade level, we brought down each grade level to the club fair where our club officers and supervisors were there to be able to talk about the individual clubs and programs. And we've actually gotten some feedback. I just got an email this morning from Mrs. Frazier in the math department talking about an uptick already in mathletes, which she specifically pointed to the club fair as being the reason for that. So again, we definitely found that, that this was a successful program and something that we are definitely going to continue on in years to come. So one of the programs that we'd like to highlight tonight is WISE, the Women in Science and Engineering, is a partnership with Stony Brook University designed to encourage female high school students to explore careers in science and engineering. The diversity of experiences similar to what Ms. Schaefer was talking about earlier through BNL and the Spark program is almost mirrored here through our partnership with Stony Brook University and the WISE Club. Ms. Raccanello has been the advisor of this group now for several years, and again, the experiences that our young female students are able to get now while in high school at Stony Brook University, working with both college students and college professors is invaluable.
So moving on, just to highlight some of our athletic opportunities for students, we have 25 varsity and 15 JV athletic teams for our students to choose from. In addition, we have students, as Mr. Passamonte mentioned earlier, that compete in gymnastics, fencing, swimming, in addition to our programs here at the high school. This spring will be our second season of Unified Basketball. If you hadn't had a chance to check this out yet, it's an absolutely fantastic program organized through Section 11 that gives our students with mental and physical challenges the opportunity to compete against other students from other schools in a variety of sports. Like I said, in particular in this case, Unified Basketball. We had an opportunity last year to play against the Shoreham-Wading River Unified Basketball team. It was a student versus faculty game. It was a ton of fun to participate in. I'm not going to say that there was great basketball played on the faculty side, but we were out there and we were trying. You know, obviously not successfully. The students did win, but we'll take them on again this spring, and hopefully we get some better results out of the faculty. But we do anticipate roughly 15 to 20 students participating in this program again this year. And finally, again, though Mr. Passamonte pointed out already, but I'd like to especially highlight the honor it is to have all 25 varsity teams recognized as scholar athletic teams. It's a major accomplishment. And like Mr. Passamonte said, you know, the point here is student athletes, and I think that the students here at Shoreham-Wading River really epitomize that. So I wanted to call some special attention to that, and congratulations once again to all the students who are honored here tonight for their achievements in our fall athletic season. Moving on to some of our experiences, special experiences for our students here on campus. We do have quite a few of them, some that we'd like to highlight. Coming up in December, we have our Act Now. Act Now is a group of performers who provide skits in partnership with our Natural Helpers group to raise suicide awareness. It's a program that's run by our upperclassmen for our freshmen, and that we run every year. So that'll be coming up in December. Also coming up this Thursday, we have our Speak Life that actually Tim Manzella was talking about earlier. We have a Speak Life presentation. It's a movie, a film of a stage production, very powerful and moving about anti-bullying and creating positive culture within the school. We're going to partner that up with a special presentation by our mental health team, an assembly on mental and physical self-care. We recently had a Veterans Day assembly, a couple of pictures of that to follow, and I'll touch base on that in a second. And then numerous other guest speakers, lecturers, you know, people coming in different classes, bringing in different outsiders to teach our students, talk to our students, and expand, you know, the experiences that they have here within the high school. Here are some photos from our recent Veterans Day Assembly, hosted by one of Ms. Scalacci's participation in government classes. On the left there is a picture of the class that really put on the entire event. It's an event that honors our veterans, our local veterans. Every year there's a keynote speaker. He is on the right. He's a U.S. Army veteran, talking about not just their experiences in service, but what that service has meant to them, the impact it's had on them, and the impact that being a veteran has had on them, as they move through the remainder of their life outside of their military service. So great opportunity for our students to sit and to learn from some truly remarkable people. As I mentioned before, we have the Speak Life coming up this week. It's an anti-bullying film, and then the other presentation by our own mental health team promoting self-care. A little bit more about Act Now, the performance suicide prevention program, partnered up with our natural helpers. Our natural helpers actually just got back. I know Mr. Please is going to touch on it in a minute, but they just got back from a retreat where they went expanding their own knowledge about suicide awareness and kind of how to handle the warning signs and that students are suffering in their mental health. And so this is a way for them to kind of take that knowledge and turnkey it back to other students here in our building.
So now we'll pick up with some of our field trips and some of our opportunities for our students outside of our walls here at SWR. So earlier tonight, we had the opportunity to hear from Ms. Schaefer and a couple of students from the Spark, BNL, and science research programs. Our Nexus program has gotten a facelift this year where we still have the opportunity to get out to Bidewee. We are able to return back to the Veterans Home at Stony Brook. In addition, we've made some new partnerships with the Holtzville Ecology Center and at the Riverhead Aquarium with the Marine Rescue Program. Once again, thank you to the Suffolk County High Schools Principals Association for once again running probably one of the largest student leadership programs in the county, Compassion Without Borders. About 2 weeks ago now, over 300 students from 30 different high schools across the county met at Center Reach High School to have an incredible day, again, working on leadership skills and learning about the cultures in other buildings. Tonight, down in our cafeteria, was a wonderful event hosted by our Best Buddies program here at the high school. It was their Best Buddies potluck dinner, which again kind of is a mixture of different programs, and then also within our field trip experiences, we have our peer mentoring recess buddy program at Wading River. Some field trips across the spectrum from all of our different departments. We've had math and science lectures at Stony Brook. We have work experience trips throughout the community through the RISE program. Our music classes and Tri-M Honor Society makes trips to AHRC and other community sites. Those will be coming up very shortly when we do some caroling around the holiday season. We have quiz bowl competitions. We go with our Adventure Ed class, when we saw the photos earlier, to the Adventure Park, Long Island. Our symbols and journalism clubs go to Adelphi each year for competitions. As again mentioned earlier, we have incredible musicians going to local, state, and regional musical competitions. We have our yoga field trip out to Sag Harbor each spring. Virtual Enterprise class that was mentioned earlier as well. They go to a couple competitions and guest lectures through LIU each year. Our reading program attends a special performance at the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center. As John mentioned a couple minutes ago, our natural helpers had their retreat 2 weekends ago. Indian Island County Park, that's one of the programs that Ms. Schaefer was talking about a little earlier as well. Our ASL classes, earlier this year, they got to experience a show over at Massapequa High School, and in a couple weeks they're going to be going to Radio City Music Hall. Our art classes are going to Chelsea Galleries and the Longhouse Reserve. This has been kind of a standing trip for them, and we've got a couple of film criticism trips planned for the spring as well. So again, we really try and make sure that all of our students have ample opportunities to gain some very incredible experiences, both on campus and off campus, wherever possible. Up on the screen, this is a photograph from our students who attended the Compassion Without Borders program, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. An incredible opportunity, like I said, over 30 high schools, over 300 students, all gathering together at Center Reach High School for an amazing day. Keynote speaker was awesome, and they had a great opportunity to fall into some smaller breakout groups where they worked with students from across the county. So, not to end on a more serious note, but I do feel it was important for us to kind of mention this a little bit. You know, we do take safety and security measures incredibly serious here at Shoreham-Wading River High School, and I do believe there are some things that we are doing here that I would bet many other districts are not doing. You know, a couple of years back, we realized that you know, that our current evacuation drill for typical fire drills was great as long as the weather was cooperating. You know, whenever you run a drill, you always kind of make sure it's a nice day, but there's no saying that that's going to be the day if there's going to be something. So one of the days I was walking around the building, there happened to be some snow on the ground, and I realized, wait a second, our current evacuation program really wouldn't work going down to the field, down the ramp, and up into the bleachers if there's snow on the ground. So we now have 2 different evacuation programs, 2 different grids that we use, one for when the weather is fine and cooperating where we can rally down on the field, and a second one where if that field is not accessible, if the ramp isn't plowed, if the bleachers haven't been cleared, then we know that we can also rally out in the parking lot. Another thing that we do during our regular fire evacuation drills is now on a regular basis, we block different access points. We close different doorways, again, trying to simulate what it would look like in the event of an actual emergency. If there is an actual emergency, not every hallway, not every passageway is going to be accessible. So what do you do if that were to happen? During a recent lockdown drill, we pulled a fire alarm, once again, to make sure that everyone understands under those circumstances, you ignore all bells, you ignore all alarms. Again, we're trying to make sure that we're maintaining our readiness no matter what the situation may throw at us. And again, as a district, I do not know of any other districts that do full school relocation drills as consistently as we do. So this is all a testament to all of the administrators, all of our security teams, everyone up on the stage. It supports us in taking the time and the energy necessary to keep our students safe and our faculty safe and secure on a daily basis. So finally, it goes without saying how proud John and I are of our students and our staff, and we really appreciated this opportunity to be able to speak with you guys tonight. So any questions, we'd love to be able to answer for you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Palazzi and Mr. Halonia. Going back to the diverse academic extracurricular opportunities here at the high school, I noticed one thing. So it says 60 students attended 24 different BOCES programs. Have we begun to think about some of the different, when you see like art design, audio production, some of the different coursework that BOCES offers versus our course electives? I'd be curious to see, are you noticing any trends or anything different happening? Because obviously there's things we can do in the high school and there's things that BOCES is a specialist in. I'm just curious to see, 60 seems like a pretty large number. I'd just be curious about your opinion.
Sure.
On that.
What we found is over the last couple of years, BOCES has done an incredible job of direct marketing out to parents and to students. They did an incredible job. They read the current economy, they read the current situation, and they made a real push to actively engage students directly. So that's part of the reason why we've seen that uptick in the number of students. And there's also a recognition from parents across Long Island that this is a very good option. One of the things that we have been talking about is just what you said. Dr. Pagliacelli has a great deal of experience looking at these CTE type programs and looking at where, exactly as you said, where can we make some inroads into those programs and possibly recapture some of those students here if that makes sense within our overall programs. So yes, it is absolutely something that we're looking at.
I think it's a worthwhile endeavor, and I do believe that there are things that we would be specialists in, and BOCES will continue to be a specialist in, but definitely for the future, pathways to graduation, right? We've seen the regents, we've seen all through the pandemic, all the different changes that have occurred of what's important to students. Obviously, we have a ton of great offerings, and then to complement all the clubs and all the other opportunities that we've got. So thanks, and I think definitely from a curriculum standpoint, we should prioritize that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was great tonight to see the new laundry facility on our high school tour, and I just would be remiss if I didn't thank our RISE students for keeping all of our jerseys laundered and for running an incredible process and in inventorying all of those jerseys as well. So thank you for welcoming us here, and to the students who shared their musical talents with us. I love the work that's currently being done in terms of engaging students in the opportunities like the club fairs. You know, the club fair, I didn't even realize it was a 4-day endeavor, and that it generated successfully, you know, more involvement. Do you anticipate for the future? You mentioned garnering some feedback, running that program a little earlier in the fall, or is it not possible to do, or is October the ideal time frame for that?
Yeah, there is kind of a sweet spot there based on
Okay.
when clubs get up and running, when they have the opportunity to get their officers installed.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit earlier in the month of October, but certainly no earlier than that.
Okay.
We may look to push it to maybe instead of the third week, maybe the first or the second week.
It'll have, I think, ongoing kind of a feed and success from just that one. And then the proactive aspect to the bullying and the anti-suicide. I love that our teachers are going to be promoting self-care. Is that the first year that that's being done, or has that been a part of the program under a different name, perhaps?
To that scale, it is the first time that I'm aware of that it's being done.
Okay.
What we were looking at was the opportunity where if we wanted to shoehorn every student into the auditorium, we may have been able to fit everyone in here all at once, do all 4 grades at the same time, just watch the Speak Life video, and kind of call it a day. But we didn't feel like that was going to be the optimum experience. So we decided to say, okay, if we do 2 grades at a time and then have a second experience where 9 and 10 will start out here in the auditorium while the 11th and 12th graders are over in the gym with our mental health team, and then flip the 2, it was really kind of the perfect opportunity to be able to do that. We had looked at some other options for what that second presentation might look like, but as always, we came back to the experts within our own building, and knowing the resources and the skills that we have here, and they jumped at the opportunity. All we needed to do was kind of throw it out there, and within a week, we were back sitting in the office with them, and they had a ton of ideas in what they wanted it to look like. So again, it's just giving those people that opportunity, and having them run with it. So we're really looking forward to what that's going to look like on Thursday.
That's wonderful, and I think that to that end, in terms of our incredible teachers that we have here offering the courses that we have, the opportunity to possibly expand even like clubs into that sphere, into that realm, might be something. It's something I've heard a couple students mention. It's something I've heard a couple teachers mention that would be really exciting to see if something like that could be more ongoing, more up and running. But thank you for creating that. You know, it's a very creative way to run that assembly. I think that's really smart.
Thank you.
And needed.
We do have that as a relatively small opportunity, to be perfectly honest. Mrs. Mary Mitchell's health elective,
Yes.
her mindfulness elective, is very similar in a lot of ways to what that program is going to look like. But instead of, as a course, stretched out as an elective, this is going to be that 1-day opportunity where every student is going to be able to hear that same message. So that was really what kind of got us thinking about it when we said, we have some incredibly skilled people here between, Mrs. Mitchell and Dr. Delana, who delivers, a similar message to our staff. When we said, well, that message is also very useful for our students as well. So between those two things, we really felt it was a good complement to the bullying film that they're going to be seeing as well.
And I think that one of the focuses of that presentation by the mental health team is they really want the students to be able to walk out of that. It is a 1-hour presentation. It's not a semester long, but they wanted students to be able to walk away with something, strategies that they could use, strategies that they could employ in their everyday life to help them, improve their social and emotional health. So that's kind of a
It's
goal
fantastic.
of their
Yeah,
course.
thank you. Do we have any other questions?
Nope.
No? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Mrs. Nicole Walborough giving us our humanities program update.
Good evening, and thank you so much for this opportunity to highlight some of the work that we've been doing in the humanities departments. Okay, so Albert Einstein, a brilliant mathematician and scientist, recognized the importance of humanity and the interconnectedness of all things that influence us as humans. In a world moving so quickly, it's important to take time to learn the lessons of the past, to understand how our spoken and written words affect others, and to consider our place in such a big and complex world. So that is why we study the humanities in our schools. I often get a strange look when I say that I'm the director of humanities, so I just wanted to provide a little definition that you see here. In the humanities, we study aspects of society and cultures. We teach critical thinking and focus on inquiry and discovery. Studying these subjects helps us better understand ourselves, our world, and our connections. Our humanities curriculum work is guided by the district's strategic plan, and we are making exciting program enhancements and progress. Tonight, you'll see a common theme of reading and writing for an authentic purpose and audience, and an emphasis on building lifelong reading and writing habits centered around student voice, interests, and activism, and a growing effort to make our interdisciplinary connections with critical reading, writing, and research embedded throughout the humanities curriculum. This helps us achieve our goal of teaching the whole child, of teaching understanding and acceptance, and of helping our SWR students graduate as thoughtful, informed, and compassionate, active citizens ready to make their mark on the world. So our next generation ELA standards have a focus on developing lifelong reading and writing skills by encouraging wordplay, curiosity, process writing, and student voice and choice in their learning. The ELA standards are integrated throughout many of the other new next-gen standards and emphasize the importance of content area literacy skills and a shared ownership over developing critical readers, writers, and researchers. Foundational literacy skills and consequent skill progressions begin with pre-K and are closely monitored through benchmark assessments, running records, standardized assessments, and small group instruction. In addition, more than ever, we are teaching our students information and digital literacy skills so that they are more critical readers and readers who can analyze the reliability of print and multimedia sources and communicate effectively and appropriately. All of our SWR curriculum, ELA curriculum, courses and electives in K through 8 have been fully aligned to the next generation ELA standards. This spring, in grades 3 through 8, our students will take the first round of assessments that test these new standards, while it will not be until 2027 that we see the new grade 11 English Regents, though we are always continuing to prepare. Our Teachers College Reading and Writing program continues to align us to the next generation ELA standards and the best practices in foundational literacy. Here you'll see an image of some of the materials the elementary principals and I were working with at our TC Principals Day at Columbia University, where we were learning about the new decodable jump rope readers and effective strategies for matching students to texts, a focus for our reading work in K-2 this year. In Wading River, we are having fun with differentiating our vocabulary work and lifting the level of our writing by embedding word love lessons from Mike Ox into our literacy time. We also continue to enhance our RTI model as we shift toward a multi-tiered system of support and add more tools to support all learners at varying skill levels, which is why we've brought on the Sunday program, a structured, systematic, multisensory reading intervention. Here you can see our Sunday trainer working with our students in a lab site setting, modeling the instruction for our teachers as they watch on and take notes. And she is fantastic. The teachers always comment on how they wish they could be her. So we've expanded our library program, and our librarians are collaborating on a K-12 information literacy continuum to further enhance students' digital and information literacy skills. We are already seeing exciting results and enthusiasm through the addition of a weekly rotation of library lessons for all grades K-5. Here, in this picture, we can see Mrs. Roberts' students searching through nonfiction books to play informational text bingo during one of their co-taught lessons with Mrs. Laval, our newest district librarian. Mrs. Laval shares weekly wakelets of resources and other content area and literacy supports for all teachers, and she's even adding some makerspace components as the library program and spaces continue to grow and transform under her leadership and vision. In the first cycle of makerspace push-ins at Miller Avenue, here we can see some of Mrs. Malave's students building famous world landmarks using Legos. This interdisciplinary activity requires students to plan, collaborate, and to tap into their engineering skills while also learning about world cultures, such as France and the Eiffel Tower. Our 6 through 8 ELA work is in its third year, with this year's focus on creating and implementing reading units of study that align with the writing and grammar units we have written over the last 2 years. Some draft samples of this work are displayed here. In connection to 9/11, grade 6 students read The Man in the Red Bandana and then wrote about who their hero is. Here we see an example of a draft piece. Also, you will see a thoughtful Post-it note written during a reading workshop by another 6th grader during a demonstration lesson with our ELA consultant. Similar to the Sunday Lab site and our Teachers College Staff Development Days, our middle school ELA teachers get together to observe demo lessons and then debrief afterwards to analyze and discuss students' reading and written responses so that they can assess the lesson's effectiveness and also adjust to students' and curricular needs. We are very excited about our new journalism elective, and students are having a blast with all types of media, even planning an upcoming unit on podcasting. Ms. Mokabir and her students just finished the first ever Prodell Press newspaper and are currently practicing interviewing others. This exposure and practice should help transition students into the high school with some investigative and diverse writing, research, and communication skills that they can build on in the high school through our journalism, public speaking, and creative writing electives. Our new secondary AIS plan and secondary read-write program is continuing to support and remediate our striving readers and writers. We continue to try and hook our readers and writers with authentic learning experiences. For example, here you can see the middle school students in Mrs. Lassessa's classes who attended a webinar hosted by New York Times bestselling author Stuart Gibbs on NCTE's National Day on Writing. Mr. Gibbs talked to the students about the writing process and his process specifically. All students received participation certificates from NCTE, as you can see them proudly displaying them in the photo. At the High School for Journalism and Public Speaking, we are working to expand our ACE partnership with Stony Brook University to offer college credit for 2 courses. Over the next few months, we will be hosting a series of LIU Post, Malloy, and Stony Brook English professors and authors who will talk to our English and reading teachers and our librarians about the reading, writing, and research demands of college, and one professor who will focus on the literary canon as a pathway to social emotional learning. Our Media Production Club, Creative Writing Course, and Symbols Literary Magazine publications continue to produce amazing and award-winning student work. I know you've seen them here recently being honored at Board of Ed meetings. At the high school, we are continuing to innovate learning in our humanities curricula with the expansion of classroom libraries and the increase of interdisciplinary lessons, such as a recent AR lesson co-taught by high school librarian Ms. Hanson and high school social studies teacher Mr. Malvagno, who, as seen as this in the photo up here, are helping students view and analyze the historical features of ancient mosque architecture and art. Kind of neat. Our AP Capstone Seminar and research teachers continue to be leaders in their field, recently hosting a visit by Miller Place AP teachers looking for some guidance and support for their program implementation. And the library and makerspaces continue to be a curriculum and student support, as well as a welcome space for readers, artists, and those who wish to play and learn. Some examples of secondary library lessons and maker activities include cards of gratitude for armed services, a word art cornucopia of gratitude, and senior class buttons. I even saw just recently a student typing on a typewriter, an actual typewriter. It's kind of neat. Okay, social studies. So the New York State framework for K-12 social studies is anchored in the New York State Standards for Literacy and the New York State Learning Standards for Social Studies. The standards include the College, Career, and Civic Life framework, which has 3 foundations: the inquiry arc, disciplinary literacy, and civic life. Some of the unifying themes, which is what we think of when we hear social studies: civic life, development and cultural identity, interactions of cultures, geography, governance, civic ideas, economic systems, science, technology, innovation, global connections. Again, you can see that this is very interdisciplinary, skills-based and exploratory. This is the approach to the next generation social studies standards. And it's not like the old school memorization that maybe some of us in the older generation kind of remember and have experienced. So we have shifted our curriculum and assessments to these themes and practices through the implementation of the My World Interactive program and ongoing professional development, as seen here with some of our grade 6 teachers collaborating with the staff developer. This ongoing training and professional development has already begun to yield positive results. In our first year of taking the new Global 2 framework exam, our students went up over 7 percentage points from the previous assessment, despite it being a new exam based on new standards. We also outscored our region on the global regions by just over 10%. So very nice results. Very proud of the students and the teachers. So we're also enhancing our offerings in social studies and students' geographic reasoning skills with the addition of our new virtual traveler course at Prodell, seen here in the picture, virtually visiting, some national parks through our Robot Lab VR expeditions with the help of librarian Ms. Kalin, and like Ms. Laval at the elementary level and Ms. Hanson at the high school level, Ms. Kalin continues to work with Prodell students and teachers to hone their multimedia, information literacy, and inquiry skills. And to continue our interdisciplinary collaboration and work around inquiry-based learning and skill building for the 21st century, the 6 through 12 social studies teachers, high school English teachers, and high school special education teachers all came together on Superintendent's Conference Day for a workshop called Elevating Innovation in ELA and Social Studies Classrooms. Teachers were exposed to some new apps and protocols for fostering collaboration, class discussion, and 21st century skills. The session ended with a live webinar presentation by Tony Wagner, author of Global Achievement Gap, Creating Innovators, and Most Likely to Succeed. Our social studies courses include the implementation of authentic learning experiences and civic engagement opportunities for students through our community connections and assembly programs, celebrations, and the anticipated addition of a Seal of Civic Readiness graduation pathway, which will be a special recognition for our eligible students, graduates. That Civic Seal curriculum and committee work is underway with the goal of being able to offer the seal in the 2023-2024 school year. Recently, we brought in a Recognizing Women's Rights in New York State exhibit on loan from the Long Island Resource Council, so that our 8th grade social studies students could further deepen their inquiry and understanding of the progressive era. Students would also participate in a related VR expedition. While we celebrate different cultures in various ways throughout the district and year-wide and district-wide, Prodell alternates their annual assembly between Women's and Black History Month. You'll also see some pictures here of our Patriot Day sponsors and of our middle school and high school Veterans Day assemblies that our students help to organize and present. And lastly, students in grades K through 12 participate in multiple field trips, such as Philly, DC, the Holocaust Museum, local courts, just to name a few, to get hands-on experiences that help them to better understand their communities, their government, Long Island, and national and world history. So we also have new world language standards. They've been recently established by the State Ed Department, and assessments are actually currently being developed for these new standards. Some of our world language teachers have attended item writing workshops and are turnkeying this to the department. In addition, we've been unpacking the various resources that have been shared out from State Ed and also from NYSWALA, who's helping to write the new assessments. At our November Staff Development Day, all world language teachers attended a state-sponsored workshop entitled Creating Thematic Unit Plans for Checkpoint A, given by some nationally recognized world language experts who are guiding this work. Here you can also see the timeline of implementation for the new assessments. Okay, starting this year, next year in 2023-2024 with the Checkpoint A 7th grade exam, and then kind of phasing in year after year. The new world language standards emphasize authentic tasks, cultural understanding, and interpersonal skills, so we are embedding that into our existing curriculum and providing as many cultural experiences as possible through assemblies, field trips, and cultural exchanges. We also want to promote the importance of world languages, and to do so, we recently introduced a Student of the Month program in our 8th grade Spanish classes. We celebrate National Foreign Language Week throughout the district each year and have recently brought in cultural assemblies. At that time last year, we had flamenco. At this time last year, we had flamenco dancers. And this year, we are working on bringing in performances of El Otro Oz, which is a Mexican folk-infused musical inspired by The Wizard of Oz. As you heard, our ASL classes, American Sign Language, recently visited Massapequa High School to see C.J. Jones, a deaf actor and comedian. Students were excited to see him perform and meet other ASL students from across Long Island. They had to have their voices off for the entire trip. Imagine that. The students had to have their voices off for the entire trip, and they used their signing skills only. So this was a very authentic, real-world experience for them. Currently, we have high school Spanish teachers who are using the World Cup as a theme to teach their sports unit, an example of how we are taking traditional units and adapting them to include more authentic learning and cultural relevance. Students are making predictions, watching the games in Spanish, studying the players, using Spanish, and having conversations about the players' routines using new vocabulary. Our World Languages clubs continue to provide opportunities to experience cultural diversity. At the high school recently, they just did a chocolate tasting with chocolates from around the world. I'm sorry, I missed that one. Another way we are promoting languages and the value of multilingualism is through our recently established New York State Seal of Biliteracy program, which extends to all of our world language and ENL students. Here you see one of our June 2022 graduates proudly wearing his yellow seal cord and medallion. Last June, we graduated 6 students with the seal, one of them being an ENL student whose first language was Portuguese and the rest Spanish speakers. Last week, I'm really proud to announce that we handed out applications to just over 30 eligible New York State Seal of Biliteracy students. So it looks like we will be able to increase that number quite a bit this school year and diversifying our languages as we prepare students to earn the seal in Spanish, French, and possibly even Chinese. Our ENL program continues to thrive with the addition of some new programs such as the After-School ENL Extension Program, the ENL Saturday Enrichment Program, and the ENL Summer Program. Here you can see the ENL students, families, and teachers together overlooking the Long Island Sound at Halleck State Park last spring, and some of our students in the summer program held at the high school. Super cute. They really felt like big kids at the lockers there. We are in the process of creating a proposal for a language buddy program for the elementary schools to help foster friendships and communication. And finally, we continue to make good use of the resources provided through our partnership in the Long Island Regional Bilingual Education Resource Network Consortium, whose theme this year happens to be, I think they took it from us, Design Thinking, Interdisciplinary Project-Based Approaches for ELS. So this matches our humanities vision and direction just perfectly. So as I wrap up and prepare to hand this off to my STEM director colleague, Dr. Palicelli, we wanted to share that we are continuously looking to learn and grow from ongoing Regents and benchmark data analysis, and in keeping up with the latest trends in curriculum and instruction standards movements, and we've presented jointly to our teachers on the next generation standards and continue to innovate learning in our SWR, and how to continue to innovate learning in our SWR classrooms. We go on classroom walkthroughs together and attend trainings together. We are about to co-facilitate a committee made up of secondary STEM and humanities teachers and librarians in a unified effort to share best practices, establish common expectations, common language, and assessments that will help our students develop the necessary critical reading, writing, and research skills across the content areas. This will improve their constructed responses, help further mastery levels, and better prepare them for the next-gen assessments, for the expectations of college and career, and for success in a dynamic, rapidly changing world. So thank you to the board and to the community for their support of this work, to the administration and to the teachers for their continued collaboration and commitment to making our humanities programs the best that they can be for our students.
Thank you.
With that, any questions?
Do we have any questions?
I do. Thank you so much for that thorough presentation. Can you clarify for me with the checkpoint A and B, that's not developed locally?
So what is happening is that the state ed department has asked the local consortium, the Niswala Consortium, to build the assessments for them. So it seems right now that we're not moving in a direction of bringing back Regents exams in world languages, but that the state ed is commissioning the consortium to write those assessments.
And do we have the ability to develop them as a district?
They haven't actually dictated that yet. But
Okay.
I don't think so. I do believe that the expectation is that the state uses the NYSWALA created assessments.
Okay.
But I will confirm that for you and get back to you on that, because I'm not 100% positive.
Yeah,
there-
no, I guess my question is really stemming from, sometimes there's expectations of what's on the regents, and you know, I realize it's a big lift, but if the option is given, then I think that teachers sometimes know what they're teaching and how they're teaching it. They might be the best designers of the assessment. Just a thought. One other question. When you're talking about cross-content with constructive responses, particularly in the high school and the limitation of a 40-minute period day, is there any opportunity for social studies to work with the English teachers and really look at some of that data analysis in a cross-content way so that they could look at their instructional practices?
Yeah, great question. I kind of was leading into that with bringing them together on Staff Development Day, the English and the Social Studies teachers, and Mr. Palicelli and I working together as well to bring teachers together through the committee. But yes, we are trying to carve out time to work together, to have conversation, to talk about best practices in literacy. And the trainer that I had mentioned, the professional development that we're doing with the My World Interactive program, the actual focus, or one of the foci of that training is actually on literacy practices.
Yeah.
So not just the social studies content, but how to help students with their reading and their writing skills within the social studies content.
Beautiful.
So we're doing it kind of in a multi-layered way.
Thank you very much for this work. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's a lot of information here. I just wanted to go back to your slide 7, which is the next generation ELA standards. Could you just, for my clarity, I saw a flow chart, and my background, I like flow charts. Could you just walk us through that flow chart?
Sure. This flow chart has changed a number of times due to the pandemic.
Right.
But the latest revised chart was from April 2021. And that basically, it shows that between 2018 and 2021, 2022, schools were adopting the new standards, adapting to the new curriculum, preparing for the new assessments. And the first assessment to be given is actually this spring. So in spring of 2023, the 3 through 8 testing program, which used to be testing the Common Core state standards, will now be testing the New York State Next Generation ELA standards. And then that will happen in 2023. Between 2023 and 2026, we're supposed to be, adjusting our focus to the high school level as they prepare to make changes to the high school English Regents assessment. And that, believe it or not, the students don't take an assessment between 8th and 11th grades. But in the meanwhile, we adapt 9th, 10th, and 11th grade curriculum to prepare for that new assessment. So that's kind of ongoing since the assessment isn't coming out until 2027.
Okay, so my first question is, how do we assess our progress toward that? And I'm looking at the 23-26 timeline for 9th, 10th, and I guess 11th grade. How are we assessing how well we're doing as we change over to the new standards?
So how are we assessing at the elementary level,
I'm sorry.
middle level,
No,
or high school level?
at the high school level,
At the high school
right.
level. Excellent question. So our benchmark assessments are testing the old standards or the
Okay.
old Regents exam.
Right.
However, when you look at the crosswalk between the Common Core state standards and the Next Generation ELA standards, not a lot has drastically changed.
Okay.
Those lifelong practices of readers and writers, that the joy in reading, the choice, the voice, that's kind of been the shift, which is just more of like a kind of a conceptual shift. But in terms of what's being tested, it's basically very similar content. So we're able to gauge really using our benchmark assessments, our Regents data, In 3 through 8, our other assessments that we use, diagnostics, we're able to gauge how they're doing using
Because
those
it's still
measures.
kind of
Because
similar
it's
in
still
nature.
very
Okay.
similar. The one thing we don't know yet, to be honest, is what the new assessment will look like. We haven't seen any prototypes. We haven't seen a model, assessment come out yet for that 2027 exam. So, we haven't jumped into anything, very deeply quite yet until we get a little guidance there.
Well, that touches a little bit on my next question. So the goal for me, looking at the chart, would be the regents, right, in 2027?
Mm-hmm.
So which cohort is that currently? Is that the 8th going into 9th?
Oh, you're going to ask me to do math and backwards math. Oh, my goodness.
Isn't that
Help me
Eureka
out.
math?
Help me out. That's the current 8th grade?
So the current 8th graders are the ones we should be focusing on to make sure that, because
They're
the
getting.
goal really is that
Yeah,
2027 year,
test.
right? So
That's right.
that's, for me, is probably the cohort you want to focus on most to make sure that we're keeping up as they go forward, because the other years prior to that will have that additional year behind them. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
and like I said, I started out by saying we are fully aligned K to 8.
Right.
So the good thing is that with the 3 through 8 assessments and our work with Teachers College and with our middle school ELA program, that's the work we've been doing to align those grade levels so that they are prepared going forward into high school.
Great. Okay.
So we have built the foundation, in other words, and now we're just waiting to see what that assessment will look like to
Right.
then roll it up into 9, 10, and, get them ready
Okay.
for 11.
Great. Thank you for that explanation. That's perfect.
No problem.
One more question. Have you noticed that there's an uptick in the amount of reading that the middle schoolers are consuming as a result of the units of study?
I do think they are, we've been building those classroom libraries quite a bit based on the input of the teachers. So the students are definitely, especially at the middle school, we've always had a lot of success with inspiring readers because we have a very robust library program. And we do our book, book of the month and all of that. But I am seeing, yes, that the students are reading quite a bit more, and the teachers are very happy because they have that independent reading and that choice time, which is, making them more invested, the students.
Yeah, I love that the district made that decision to put the libraries inside the classroom. I think that was brilliant.
And we've moved that up to 9th grade, and we'll hopefully, continue again as we build along the way.
It makes sense. Thank you.
So just to follow up to Ms. Teppenhart's question, at the secondary level, so if we've developed the curriculum then for reading, how many books would you say in grades 6 through 8 would a student read on an annual basis? Because I guess that's the library program. I'm thinking, is there a certain amount of books that a student would read in a class each year?
How many required books? The teachers, so we've shifted toward a workshop model. So the teachers are using a core text as a mentor text 3 times a year. So they're reading through that core mentor text. The students then apply that to their self-selected text. So then they're reading those additional self-selected 3 texts. So now we're up to 6. And then all around that, they do that 3 times a year. And then all around that, they're doing additional independent reading. So it's hard to say exactly how many, but we definitely are increasing the volume of reading through that workshop model.
Okay, I was just curious. Going back to slide 7 that Mr. Perez just brought up. So when we think about the ELA instruction, my concern would be, we saw Mr. Meinster's analysis about a month ago. We know we have a low turnout rate for students who opt in. It's not a mandatory test, the ELA, right, from grades 3 through 8, so it's still an opt-out. So, so we have, my concern would be then, how do we know how we're doing, right? So then you go back to iReady, right, which we've spoken about. Is that the right assessment tool for our district? Is there any process underway right now to relook at our entire ELA, the standards? I guess you're saying yes, so I'll let you finish.
Yeah, so again, all the work we've been doing the last few years to write the grammar units of study, the reading units of study, and the writing units of study, we actually spent a lot of time developing assessments that go along with all of our units. And those assessments are ongoing. We have formative assessments as well as summative assessments that are built into all of those units. So as the students, as the teachers teach the skills and the students practice the skills in the workshop model, they're then collecting, these assessments, these formal and informal assessments to gauge how they're doing. Very similar to how we do it with Teachers College and in the elementary level. So we have, a multitude of data. We have, diagnostic data, we have some state assessment data, and then we have the ongoing data that is embedded into all of our units of study. And we teach around those units of study as well, and our teachers are well versed in aligning their assessments to the types of questions and activities and that they would be seeing on a middle level assessment, but even at preparing for the Regents level assessment.
Okay, terrific. So thinking about where we are in this year, we just got through the first grading period. So we would have looked at AIS or students that are in need. How did it look after the first quarter this year? Because you've rolled out the 6 through 8 program, so I assume that with those assessments, those were given, so we have an idea. How do we look as a district?
Yeah, so the first unit assessment of reading and writing has been completed. The first iReady assessment has been completed. The first quarter has been completed. And so actually we're in the process of gathering all of that data together for every grade level, and the committee should be meeting actually very soon. So we actually haven't had that meeting yet, but it will be happening very soon.
That's interesting. So when do we decide then, do students, that seems like it's late in the year. We're already into December. So is that typical for our district, or is this a new time frame based on these assessments?
Late in the year, I thought you
No,
were
I'm thinking
referring
about
back
students,
to the...
so I'm thinking that if we've gone through the first quarter, wouldn't students you'd have those assessments to decide if they need services or looking at AIS or programs? Are you saying that we haven't done that yet, or?
Well, that's just a relook at students to
Nicole?
re-gauge. Yeah.
Just in answering, because that's more just about the general program.
It is.
At the secondary level, the AIS assessments are done at a different time frame because student academic intervention supports at the secondary level are only changed at the mid-year point because of the way that the scheduling is structured. So we take our time to gather the information to review all of the students because changes do not take place in program at the secondary level until the end of the second quarter. So we are using that data, we're pulling that together to take a look at how all of our students are performing, so that we have the ability to have the committee sit and meet. It typically happens that those meetings take place prior to the December break, and that is still our anticipated time frame. At the elementary level, the meetings take place much more closely aligned with the end of each trimester, because at the elementary level, with the RTI block in the schedule, moves between different levels of service can happen at any time as soon as we have the data available and can review it. So we do that much more closely aligned with when the assessments actually take place, because we have the ability to use that data to make the changes immediately. Whereas at, again, the secondary level, because you can't change a student's schedule with a period-by-period schedule, you can only do that with semester classes, and that's.
So is that at the high school and the middle school level?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
I wasn't aware
also-
of that.
yeah,
All
but-
these years, I wasn't aware of that. That's why
But
I'm
students
bringing it
are
up.
placed at the start of the year.
Yes, they
Last
start
year's
out with their
Last year's
supports.
data informs their initial placement in the first semester. So it's
Okay.
not, we're not waiting till January to get students help. They're identified
They're
in spring of the
starting the
following
year
year
with
and
that.
scheduled into the fall semester for whatever academic support fits.
Yeah,
the
no,
needs of the
I appreciate that, Mr. Poole. My question is around, if we're looking at rolling out or have rolled out these new units of study, I was trying to get a handle on where we are, and it sounds like you're assembling the data right now, so we should be able to see something as of December for these updates, I guess, based on the new curriculum, especially in the middle school. See how it's doing. In other words, are students in need of more or less help?
so.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to
Yeah,
get
certainly. So the
confirmation.
middle schools in year
Okay.
3, they've done work in grammar, they've done work in writing. They are immersed in reading, and creating reading units of study right now. And certainly, this would be year 2 of writing and sort of grammar combined. Certainly the student assessments for writing for the first
first quarter to a third of the school year should be available at some point. And of course, Ms. Wallbauer can provide the board with an update on how
That would be
students
great.
fared in those new writing units.
That would be terrific.
Yeah, that's, absolutely.
So just to continue,
Yep, good. No, you're good. No, you're good.
so, I mean, I think Ms. Sheridan was looking at the potential for change if you needed to make a change. I'm looking for support. So if you saw something at this point in those, right, and you're looking at them in December,
So-
do we have a mechanism to provide support? Because maybe it's not a change, but it's a little less than they need.
We do, and we don't wait until December. Our AIS protocol that we follow, the principals share that with the staff as a reminder each fall,
Okay.
that at any point in time, if you see a student struggling, you can put what's called an AIS referral form in.
Right.
And then
Okay.
that will go to the team, and the team will come together. So it's actually an ongoing process that we're always having conversations about student progress. We don't
Right.
only do it at certain points in time. At certain points in time, that's when we have the greatest amount of data, and we, all come together to look at everybody. But it's an ongoing
Yeah,
process.
and I think that's my point. right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you
that's
needed
helpful.
to make a change.
Yeah, that's what I
right,
was
it's not
trying to
gonna be the-
understand.
Right,
the-
but-
the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah, are we
board.
waiting till the
And-
second?
and-
Yeah, go ahead.
So the question, and I may be, and perhaps I misunderstood your question. I thought your question was, have we had a chance to look at the data globally from the new units to assess how those assessments have impacted our students as a whole? And are we seeing,
It was, but
And that's what- so
also
that's-
Henry's clarifying around when do services,
correct.
if
For
you, a student
individual
needs support.
students,
Yes,
correct. If
exactly.
a teacher at any point in time feels that they have a student that has gone off course, they have the ability to, for individual students, make a recommendation for support that would be reviewed by the building level committee at that time when the teacher files that AIS referral.
No, I appreciate that. And the reason I'm bringing it up and being so, I guess, questioning on this is, I see the rigor that's necessary now with these new tests and new standards, and I just stay concerned, how are we doing against it? So that's why I'm asking those questions, so thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Walbauer.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate just how evident it is that the new standards are not just being implemented for compliance, but really you've been leading work that has utilized this as an opportunity to rethink and to revamp and really thoughtfully consider all angles of our curriculum. And it was nice to see some of our teachers in addition to some of our students in the presentation. Appreciate all the work that everyone's been doing and to that end. So if we don't have any further questions, I think we'll go on to Mr. Palicelli. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Understood, no problem. We'll see you soon, okay? So good luck. Anytime, you don't just tap me, right? That's a long night.
All right,
Yeah, so,
good evening. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about some of the updates in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. As I'm preparing for this, of course, I've got all my notes on this, but I think I'm going to do this without the notes. So in supporting of the district's strategic plan, we have a lot of updates, curricular updates, and science is really our heavy lift. As Ms. Wallbauer already mentioned, just like ELA, our math program, the changes are minor. They're very minor revisions, so we'll get into that. I want to mention our middle school STEM electives, which Mr. Van may have alluded to previously. And then I want to talk about some of the enhancements, the technology, the family and consumer science program, our research program, which Ms. Schaefer already mentioned. I want to mention a little bit about our virtual enterprise program and robotics, where we are now post-COVID. So here's a quote from Mr. William Bragg, and it kind of speaks to the standards. So the important thing in science is not so much to obtain new facts as to discover new ways of thinking about them. These new standards are calling for kids to think about the facts in new ways, to be able to use and synthesize and use those facts for problem solving. So that's kind of our shift, not necessarily the content, but how we think about it and how we make kids think about it. So when we talk about next generation science standards, I'm sure you've heard this before, it's really an update to science education. So those are national standards that, of course, New York State has to put their own little spin on it. So New York State takes the national NGSS standards and turns it into what we call the NIST list, the New York State Science Learning Standards. So you'll hear a lot of people use those terms interchangeably. The NIST list, the New York State version, is very close to the national standards, but of course they had to make it their own. So again, I just wanted to emphasize that it's not a memorization of facts anymore. As I think, at least when I was in school, it was about memorizing facts and then hopefully memorizing them long enough to be able to pass a test. That's not what these are anymore. So we're talking about student exploration, student application of these scientific concepts. So as we transition to these standards, so if we talk about our elementary program, so using an experienced expert, Dr. Kang, I'm sure you've heard her name before, she has helped us and helped our teachers understand the new standards and guide our curricular efforts. So teachers, with her help, were designing phenomena-based curriculum and activities to use with students in the classroom. So if you see the pictures below on the bottom left-hand side is the teachers being trained by Dr. Kang. On the right-hand side, you'll see Mr. Korchma pretending to be a bee. He's actually pollinating, he's discovering the phenomena of pollination and then returning to his hive. You can picture there was about 15 teachers all going around in different directions, pollinating and then returning to their hives. So very interesting. The center picture I put there for you is because we want to capture this work for everybody. So as Dr. Kang does her training, as the teachers do their curricular work based on her training, we want to capture that in a co-location that everybody has access to, not just her presentations, but all the curricular work they did. So the curricular work that one fourth grade teacher all did and saved, the links, the phenomena, all the teachers have access to. So it was a total collaboration and saved in a common access point. So we do have new investigations. So the state has designated what they call investigations, which are really, they're really miniature science labs. So there is 4 that are called out for the elementary, for the 3 through 5, and then there are 4 called out for 6 through 8. As it turns out, a lot of those investigations we were already doing as part of our mystery science program. So we've already had that conversation. We've already ordered those materials. We've already had conversations with the teachers and with the science preparation staff. So we are ready to implement those investigations. And then the new science assessments will begin in the spring of 2024. So the current 4th graders will take the new science test next year. And the new 8th grade test will be the same, will be the following year. So the current 7s will take the new 8th grade test next year.
You don't have a flow chart to show us?
I do have a
I'm
flow
only
chart.
kidding.
You'll see, I did. I put a flow chart. So in 6 through 8, so the standards for 6 through 8, so I did, see? There's a link to it, so if you click on it,
Good
it's a
man,
link.
good man.
Don't listen to him.
So in K through 5, the state called out the science standards specific to a grade level. In 6 through 8, they did not. They called them middle level standards. Okay. So we used, Mr. Meister and I used input from our teachers as well as from our expert to establish a life science in 6th grade, a physical science in 7th grade, and an earth science in 8th grade structure. So that way we had something to guide our teachers as they go through their curriculum development and their training on this phenomena type presentation. So the content guides they are developing now. Our 6th grade teachers are working on them now and implementing them now. Our 7th grade teachers are working on them now for implementation next year. And then our earth science will be the following year after that. So at the high school level, so right above there, I kind of bulletized to try and pull it out, but it is you can click on that, it should be a link. So here's the rub, is that until you see that the 5th and 8th grade tests are in June of 2024, the spring of 2024. Yep. Earth science and bio don't start until 2025.
Thank you.
So until 2025, we have to teach, our students are going to be assessed on the old Regents exams. So we have to expose our teachers to the concepts, start that pattern of thinking, start that training, to build that capacity. And then, as a tiered approach, so then we can begin our curriculum writing efforts before the exam changes. If we were to try and change our curriculum now, we'd be teaching kids a new style of understanding, but still having to pass an old style test. So it is class. So I am sharing articles and standards from all the publications that I receive. Our teachers, I've been sending them to workshops by Eastern Suffolk BOCES and Western Suffolk BOCES on building their capacity for these new standards. We've used our consultant, Dr. Kang. We've just recently started collaborating with Miller Place teachers. So we actually took a ride over to Miller Place High School, and our earth science teachers got to work with their earth science teachers and kind of share best practices. Our living environment teachers got to speak with their living environment teachers and again share best practices. So they got to talk with their content colleagues in a different district. So I think all felt that was a win all the way around. And just to finish the flow chart, in the 2026 year is when the new chemistry and physics will come. So here's a couple of pictures here below. So Dr. Kang was doing her consulting work with Miller Place. Her schedule is extremely tight, and we were unable to book a number of days with her that we wanted. So Miller Place, turns out, they had booked those days. So we were able to connect with them and participate in their training. So not only did we get training with Dr. Kang, but we also got it with another set of teachers that are kind of chewing the same dirt as ours. So it was a total win. So if you see the pictures, on the picture on the left is where teachers were determining that's actually Dr. Kang on the right side of the left picture. Teachers were determining cause and effect. In the middle picture, you should have seen it, it was absolutely hilarious. The teachers are lined up against the wall because they're demonstrating a P wave versus an S wave in earthquake movement. So where they're pushing each other back and forth. It was a funny thing to watch. And then you have Mr. No-Hill on the right. They are building a cardboard tower that had to suspend or had to hold a certain amount of weight when Dr. Kang put it on a board and had to shake it in different directions, and she measured how much it was shaking. So the way she does her training, the teachers actually are immersed in the training. They are actually students as they go through this. So as we turn away from science and we turn into looking at next-gen math, again, as Ms. Wallbauer said, the same thing from ELA to math. These are minor revisions to the standards that were from before. So our teachers K through 8, our K through 5 program is the Eureka Math program is actually already content matched. So we were immediately already matched to the standards. Our 6 through 8 teachers, what a collaborative bunch that they are. They come together and they collaborate and they develop a calendar. So they've been using a calendar where they lay out in Excel day by day by day by day exactly how they're addressing all the content to match the new standards. So we kind of pulled them together because I wanted it written more as a scope and sequence, so that way we could see, so to speak, the forest from the trees. I saw them too far into the forest that we need to pull them back to be able to see the whole curriculum as a guide for the whole year, and that way they can make decisions about that. So again, the articles, the standards provided to them, the collaboration, the curriculum alignment, they took their best practices and what they've done, and they took the new next generation standards and put them together and created this. So this is an example. This is the 6th grade example, but there is one for 7th grade. There is one for 8th grade. There is one for geometry. This is what our goal is to create, and if you could see, it basically gives you a guide for the whole year. I just gave you a snapshot there, but it obviously gives you the topics. It breaks it down to the subtopics. It gives an estimate for the number of days. Those are not ironclad, they're not hard in stone, but they're just a guide for teachers. And then it references the new standards, so that way we know we're meeting the new standards. So as we go into our STEM electives at the middle school, which I know Mr. Van spoke about a little bit. So Mr. Willie, very enthusiastic about our agriculture course. You can see he bases it's focused on plant science, soil science, crop management, pest and disease management, farming, biotechnology. He's actually geared that course to support our sustainability program here. So he has worked with Mr. No-Hill before, so he is kind of like an extension of that sustainability program there. So the students work in various capacities, so he has them doing a lot of projects. I just have a picture of on the left side, you can see the hydroponic table that kids are growing, using to grow lettuce. There's a few other things growing, basil. On the right-hand side is a raised bed that the kids are. I didn't get pictures of the composting because they're doing the composting as well. There's more beds that they are making. Right behind the kids, I wish I would have got a better picture of it, is like a staircase of a raised bed where that they can plant in. So a lot of activities. That's on top of the grow towers he has going on inside the classroom. So very enthusiastic. Kids are definitely enjoying their experience in this course. The STEAM course, so STEAM, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and the arts, the A for the arts. So this is Ms. Vitale, very enthusiastic, very passionate about this. Her focus is on the engineering design process and teamwork activities. So she actually invited me in, if you see the picture on the right-hand side, so the kids were given tape and unfilled balloons in their groups, and their task was to create the tallest freestanding tower of balloons. And I tell you what, the amazing part for me was watching the kids like informally take on roles of who was going to help blow up the balloons and who was going to start stacking them and who was going to pull out the tape and start making pieces of tape on the side of the desk. So it was just amazing how they did that without direction, they just assumed their roles, and they just all and Ms. Vitale created a little bit of a high pressure environment by giving them a time. Within a certain number of minutes they had to complete a certain stage. So a lot of fun work going on there. But again, the resource management, so kids have to know that they can only use certain things. They don't have unlimited amount of tape. They don't have unlimited amount of balloons. The planning and communicating and critiquing their own work and then revising it to try and get the tallest tower. Very cool to watch. Our computer science elective, right? So that's Mr. Mancuso, he's got a passion for computer science. It's one of he's trained in it. And so he has embarked on taking the kids through a Python programming course. So if anybody knows about programming, it's one of the up-and-coming languages. It's probably the third or fourth highest used right now in developing websites and data structures. It's a very versatile language that is a little easy on script compared to something like C++ or Java. Python is a little easier to learn and a little easier to grasp, but the kids can do everything that like a Java program can do by programming in Python. So Mr. Mancuso is walking the kids through this. He's designed the course in such a way where he can differentiate where kids are. So some kids are walking into the course with some programming background, and some kids are not. And he's able to differentiate in content and make sure every kid is progressing at their speed. So some of the projects that he has them, and this may sound simple, but these are actually pretty complex tasks for kids to program. A rock, paper, scissors. You got to use for that one and for the lottery simulator, you got to use random number generators. There's a lot that goes into this. And for kids to be able to program this, it's pretty amazing at this level. The 4-function calculator is a huge program. That's a huge lift to program that, to program every single key and what it does and the operation it has to execute. No simple task.
What grade is that?
That is
the 4-function?
That is going to be our 8th grade.
8th grade.
That's going to be our 8th grade.
And the VEX V5 is using Python in the high school too, right?
Yes, I believe they are.
Yeah.
All right, so as we move into technology, so in the technology program, so New York State has come up with what they call the CTE theme modules and CTE content modules. So they're calling for kids to be able to problem solve, to be able to think innovatively. So they have all these different themes that they've called for. So we are implementing those themes in some of the projects that we do. So I just gave you just a couple of activities that we do. So the center one The center and the picture in the center and to the right is Miss Berg in our Family and Consumer Science. She did a farm-to-table activity where the kids kind of grew their salad in a grow tower, and tomatoes and lettuce, arugula. There was multiple types of lettuce, and then the culminating activity was for them to make a salad, and you could see them preparing that on the right-hand side. The Kid Win project, that's obviously an engineering design, as is the maglev, because these are problems that they are that they have to engineer and design creatively to be able to solve these problems. But these activities are what incorporates the CTE theme standards and the CTE content standards. Our science research program, I mean, Ms. Schaefer was already up here. Her progress has been super. I have really enjoyed the collaboration, her and I. We, back earlier, actually probably later last year, earlier in this calendar year, her and I kind of embarked on reaching out to other science research teachers in other districts to try and get a feel for what they do, how they do it, what their structure looks like, what their summer assignments were. What were some of the competitions that they required, that they at different levels? So we took that information that we were able to gather. We talked with Mr. Puglisi, and we kind of laid out a structure that I kind of noted here is that structuring a three-course structure instead of kind of like the two that we have now, where it's an introduction to science research as an introductory program, the science research, and then the advanced science research afterwards. So in each one of those courses, now I don't have the descriptions here for you, but in each one of those courses we're identifying what the summer assignments are. We're also identifying what the research competition would be at the different levels. We are increasing our student participation. We are not just in the competitions, but also trying to bolster the program by going to Pradell and going into our science classes in Pradell and trying to solicit kind of showing off some of the research that kids are doing to try and encourage participation going forward. So we do have a higher number of students involved in our program this year, and we are going to continue that. In fact, we actually want to go into our bio honors here to kind of recruit. Ms. Schaefer already went through some of the competitions that kids are in right now. We are progressing towards a Regeneron. A Regeneron is a very heavy lift for a kid because of the application process. It's not even about the fact that it has to be independent research, that it has to be a senior only, but the application process is so lengthy, and they really don't give you a lot of time because you have to be a senior, but the application has to be done by, I think, November 7th. So they're not really giving kids a lot of time. So that is something we are focused on, something we're working towards, and something we're looking for the right kids that are there, that are ready for those opportunities. So she already mentioned about participating in the B&L Spark program and the Barcode Long Island, so I won't belabor those. So we have Virtual Enterprise. Mr. Puglisi mentioned the Virtual Enterprise program. We are in our second year of the program, and we have grown into 2 sections. So the school that I came from had a legacy, a long-standing Virtual Enterprise program with only 1 section. So it's a very exciting way this program has grown. This is really a business simulation in all aspects. Kids have to take on all the roles from sales, marketing, advertising, accounting, human resources. They have to assume all the roles and execute those roles in a simulation software that's part of the program. So they have, I showed you their logos right here. So we have Long Island Custom Clothing is the logo on the left, and the Next Gen Sports is our second class. That is in the middle. And Ms. Cosgrove is with some of her students at the LIU Leadership Conference on the right-hand side. So it's very nice to watch this program progress. I've enjoyed working with Ms. Cosgrove and helping connect her with some virtual enterprise veterans to continue growing this program. So they are attending trade shows, they're attending competitions. We do have an agreement with LIU for 3 credits for Intro to Business and 3 credits for Entrepreneurship if the kids so choose. So robotics is, for a lot of schools, has been a sore subject for the last couple of years because of COVID. Now it's starting to, we are coming out of this, right? So there are two main types of robots on the island. One is through FIRST and the other is through VEX. So we have all the materials and all the components for VEX. My old school used FIRST. Either one. FIRST did have its problems with its controller, so a lot of schools did switch from FIRST to VEX for that reason. We are fully up and running. We are a registered team. I give you our team number there, 49627A. We are registered for an in-person competition in February. So I want to say we're still a little bit of a fledgling program, but it's growing appropriately to line up and to continue. I just gave you some pictures there of what the arena looks like. Basically, they give you different tasks as part of the competition, and you have to develop a robot that can complete those tasks in the less amount of time or complete the most tasks. Thank you. Question? Sorry, did I go too fast? I hope I didn't go too fast.
No,
That's
not
great.
at all.
It's wonderful. Thank you very much for your presentation and for your collaborative efforts. It's really what stood out to me the most, not only with neighboring districts, but within our own departments as well. I love the document that you've created, or the file folder, I should say, that you created within Google for that collaboration to proceed in a very seamless and user-friendly manner. It's fantastic. Does anybody have any questions?
No, excellent presentation.
Yeah, no, thank you. It was really great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. They were both incredible. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have votes and resolutions. Can I get a motion to approve the October 25th regular public session minutes? Tom, second Megan. Any questions? All in favor? 4-0. We're down to 4. Can I get a motion to approve the first reading of the policies? I believe Mr. Hayward will be reading the memo that Mrs. Mahoney has prepared for us. Can I get a motion first? Tom, Megan, and thank you, Mr. Hayward. You have it? You have the memo right now?
Great.
Okay,
The following
great.
policies are being presented for a first reading. 2330 executive sessions. This policy will replace our current district policies 1540, 1730, as it is current and includes all necessary information for our district. 2340 notice of meetings. This policy will replace our current district policy 1510, as it is current and states all requirements regarding public notice of meetings, which is currently in practice. 2342 is a new policy, agenda preparation and dissemination. This policy shares the protocol of building the agenda as well as the guidance to facilitate orderly and efficient meetings. The next one, 2350, board meeting procedures. It replaces 1511. This policy has similar information already established in the current district policy. However, it is up to date and current. 2360, minutes, replaces our current policy 1720. It gives accurate information specific to our district. A portion was added to make note of storage of backup materials too large to fit into the minutes. And the last one is 1500, public use of school facilities. This, it's renumbered from 3280, and this policy will be renumbered to fit into the NISBA numbering system. However, a minor correction was made to reflect the correct insurance cost of medical paid to others.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions?
Just one, Katie, real quick. On the board minutes, the question, what did too large mean? I was trying to look that over. What does that mean to us? So how do we make that determination?
Say that one more time.
The
two-
criteria, yeah, sure, sorry. Under the criteria for minutes, I think the change that we're making says, here it goes. The policy has similar information, however, it's up to, oh, no, that's not it, sorry. It's 2360 minutes. The policy will replace our district. It says a portion was added to make note of storage of backup materials too large to fit into the minutes. Who makes the determination of when it's too large? What does that look like? Do we have
Oh,
any
that's a good
criteria?
question.
It's just a criteria question more than anything. We could accept the first read if it's something that we would take back and look at in policy, because I'm not sure what denotes large or not. That's all I'm thinking. What does large mean?
Okay, I think that that's a good idea. We will make note of that, and then Mrs. O'Mahony can clarify that for us, just to quantify, like you said, quantify the criteria for, that denotes large.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, any other questions?
No. There was, I'm sorry, I misplaced it here.
That's okay.
Oh, it's 2342, agenda preparation and dissemination. It makes reference to superintendent and board president producing it. Should we modify that to reflect current procedure where the vice president participates as well?
That's a good question. Our common practice is that we have in attendance both the board president and the vice president when possible in attendance. But I think that the policy, and I could be wrong, we could also ask Stephanie about this. I think the policy needs to reflect like the requirement, but that we could additionally in practice, add on to that. So in other words, if it says that we require both of us to be present, then we wouldn't be able to generate an agenda without both of us present.
Which complicates it. No,
Mhm.
I agree.
But it's a good question.
Your wording was good as available, or if,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to bring those two questions to Mrs. O'Mahony. Because what she'll do is then clarify in Robert's rules and in the NISBA requirements and recommendations, and then present that finding to us.
sounds good.
Okay. Okay, all in favor to accept first read? 4-0. Can I get a motion to approve the CPSE, CSE, and 504 meeting summary from November 16th? Tom, second Henry. Any discussion or questions?
No.
All in favor? 4-0. Can I get a motion to approve the October 22 treasurer's report? Megan, second Tom. Any discussion or questions?
No.
All in favor? 4-0. There's one Board of Education resolution, 113. Can I get a motion? Tom, second Henry. Any discussion or questions? All in, yep.
Just correct, where is this located on the district's property? I just don't know where it is.
The
Sorry.
donation?
Yeah, where is
For
it?
you don't know what the Peace Garden is?
I actually
It's to
don't.
the, if you.
I'm sorry.
I'm only kidding. It's,
I know what a
it's,
flagpole is.
it's up by the pond, so it's between the pond
Oh, okay.
and the driveway there. You'll see some bamboo, there's a bench there, there's a couple of poles. I think the Rotary Club donated them years ago, and,
Okay.
one's fairly dilapidated, so to replace the pole that's there right now.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, I didn't know where it was.
Can I get a motion to approve the donation? Tom,
absolutely.
second. Oh, we did that already. I apologize.
What's that?
For a vote. All in favor?
Yep, that's fine.
4-0. And thank you to the Rocky Point Rotary Club for your donation. There's 4 curriculum and instruction resolutions. Can I get a motion to, for 114 through 117? Tom, second Megan. Any discussion or questions?
No.
All in favor? 4-0. There are 7 business and operations resolutions. Can I get a motion to vote on 118 through, let's see, we have 124. Henry, second Tom. Any discussion or questions?
No.
All in favor? 4-0. Okay. Next, can I get a motion to vote on our personnel agenda? Tom, second Henry. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 4-0. And can I get a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Tom, second Henry. All in favor? 4-0. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you for all your presentations and hard work.